Good day, everyone, and welcome to the next short attention span webinar. Kelly Malazzi, how are you?
I'm doing great, Bill. How are you?
Well, I'm doing well. I'm no Wonder Woman like you are, naturally,
Yeah,
but
not everyone can be.
not everyone can. But I mean, what would we do? We would compete. It would get ugly.
Yep.
So let's talk about building a personal brand here, Kelly. Um, you know, this first of all, what is a personal brand? Let's define that, and I would define that as the statement that you make that differentiates you, and it's a statement that everything you do should reinforce. That's
Yeah.
too many words.
Well, it's who you are and what you stand for, basically. I mean, if you think about, Nike's brand is the leading athletic shoe in the world. They are the
Okay.
brand leader. So, again, it's who you are, what you stand for, what you want people to understand about you.
Okay. All right. Now, what should it be? Are we able to say this is it? This is what it should be? I mean, can we give some generalities?
I always think about it as kind of that elevator speech, or that cocktail party conversation, but much more interesting. That dreaded question, well, what do you do?
Mm.
And the answer at a cocktail party is, oh, I sell printing. Or it could be something like, I help, like we always talk about, Bill, in our webinars, I help customers find their customers. Or I help people increase the effectiveness of their graphic communications. It really can be anything, and it should be in your voice and in your style, but it should get the point across to why somebody would work with you, and again, what you're all about.
I always thought, Kelly, that I wanted to be known as the ideas person. I want to be known as somebody who's resourceful, because when you're resourceful, you get the phone call that says, "Hey, Bill, I got a weird one. Can you help me to find whatever?" I want that phone call,
Yep.
or the one that says, "We're designing something. We need your perspective."
Yeah.
That's the one that I want. Now, Kelly, what should it not be? What should that brand not be?
Well, again, there's a lot of things it shouldn't be. I wouldn't want it to sound like what everybody else is saying. We certainly don't want to say things like, we've got the best quality, service, and price out there. We don't want it to be a low-cost leader kind of message. I mean, unless that really truly is who you are and what you do. And so if you're the 4-cent copy guy, then I guess it's okay to say you're the 4-cent copy guy. But again, this should really be a little bit almost more descriptive about what it's like to do business with you and what they can expect from you and why they would want to work with you in the first place. I wouldn't want to sound me too, and I wouldn't want to be focused on price.
Okay. Okay. So really, I think we agree then. It's basically the answer to the question, why should I buy from you?
Yeah.
Or put it the other way, why should you buy from me? Why should I take your appointment? Why should I return your phone call? That's the brand. Now, as far as building it, I think LinkedIn plays an important role in building your brand. LinkedIn is your resume. Okay, you're
Yep.
putting stuff up there. You're putting testimonials there. Plus, it gives you the chance to commingle with groups and say, here's my opinion. Now, LinkedIn, I think, Kelly, and disagree with me if you like, but LinkedIn, I think, is so powerful that it gives you it's kind of a make or break kind of thing, right? I mean, isn't somebody going to go
Absolutely,
check you out?
especially if you're going to put that in your email signature or if you're going to put it on your business cards. A lot of people now are saying, it's kind of, as you said, it's kind of the window into who you are. So if you say to somebody, here's who I am, check me out on LinkedIn, then
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you better have great recommendations from coworkers and clients. Now there's these fun endorsements, which I think are hilarious. You can be endorsed in so many different categories. Um, and that's always flattering for us when we get endorsed as bloggers or we get endorsed as marketing experts, things like that. You want to be endorsed in whatever your key competencies are by people who know you.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you're right. It reads a lot like a resume, all the way down to where you went to school, where you've worked before, and who you're connected to. I mean, it's a very, very powerful tool.
Okay. All right. So that's a big one. But what about Facebook? See, this is we draw the distinction between these two.
Hmm.
Personally, I think that Facebook can harm you more than it can help you. What do you think on that, Kelly?
Well, I think if you put up a company page, and you get some followers, it's real easy to maintain. If you just say, here's Aspire4's website, and every day you put up just a link to another blog or a link to an interesting news article, and you've got 30 or 40 people that follow you on Facebook, I think there's absolutely no harm in that. It's hard to get people to follow you as a company because it's not what people are using Facebook for. And Facebook is now so much more putting, it's like shoving suggested pages in people's faces, and I think that's going to come out to be, it's kind of altering the user experience there. I still think Facebook is very much an individual user's recreation.
Well, see, but that's my point. That's my point. That if you really cut loose and make some wild ass comments on Facebook, and you're trying to build a brand, well, that's going to hurt you more than it helps you.
Yeah, I don't think you would necessarily participate in Facebook as yourself. I think you would be more. I would very much draw a very thick line between yourself on Facebook and your company on Facebook, and they should not. They should never coexist.
Well, they do say, never put anything on Facebook that you wouldn't, or anything in writing that you wouldn't want everyone to see.
Yeah, yeah.
We had something happen to us yesterday, and I quickly said to my kids, do not put this on Facebook. It's like everywhere. This one thing, this gets down to, and I love this scenario. You're in an appointment with a customer, and the customer, you're making your pitch, and the customer says, wow, Kelly, this sounds great. Really like this, but you know what? We don't have anything right now for us to talk about. So let's talk again when we do. And you get up and you shake the person's hand, and you get in the doorway, and you turn around and you say, you know what? Here's when you want to call me. Here's where I fit.
Mm-hmm.
Or in my words, this is my one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when Jack Palance was talking to Billy Crystal in City Slickers, and he said, life comes down to one thing. And Billy Crystal says, what is it? Jack Palance says, well, you got to go find out what your one thing is. So this is what makes you different, what makes you unique. And as such, it should be different because, Kelly, everybody says, well, people do business with us for our great service.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's nice, but if everybody says it, it becomes a yawner. So the one thing, I really believe that people have got to put some thought into this, a great deal of thought into this. What's that one thing that's going to separate you from the masses?
And it really does need to be your voice and your personality style too, because it should be descriptive of how you're different than the other 5 guys that called them today. So as you said, Bill, put some thought into it, bounce it off some people, and see how it plays.
And social media gives us that opportunity. Creating a Facebook page, creating LinkedIn, writing a blog. A blog is typically, it can be a paragraph, it can be a full page, but it gives you a voice. And the thing is that, the hard part of this, of course, is distributing it. Now, Kelly, you and I are lucky because Putting Impressions pushes us quite heavily, and we get a few thousand reads every month. That's great.
Yep.
Not everybody can have that. So writing is one thing, distributing is another, but getting your voice out there can be an interesting way of helping you to build that brand. Being anecdotal, telling stories, things like that. So get on that personal brand thing. This might be something that, I don't know, maybe you sit down and write a few sentences, but finish that sentence. Who am I? Or why should you take my call? Or even better, Kelly, what differentiates you from the other 15 print sales reps that called me today? So, all right, Ms. Malazzi, thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.
And we'll talk to you again on the next short attention span webinar, everybody.